With Bloom's defeat at Ulster, we finally pushed our way into the Thracian Peninsula and secured our foothold for the next stage of this war. Now, we know that Thracia and the Manster district aren't exactly on the best of terms. Manster has always been blessed with wide green pastures and plentiful resources, while Thracia is left to the harsh, barren mountains of the south. This has historically left Thracia with little choice but to try and conquer Manster for themselves, always ending in failure. Until, of course, we got to see Trevant murder Quan in the Yea Desert for ourselves, claiming the Manster district as the new North Thracia. But we only find out now that it was all basically for nothing. Soon afterwards, Thracia was defeated by Bloom's forces, putting the entire peninsula under Grand Vale control. Trevant knows he lacks the power to stand up to all of Grand Vale, so the region falls into an oddly peaceful stalemate. That is, of course, until we came in and destabilized the entire political situation. With Bloom retreating to Connaught, he now has to face our advancing forces and handle the potential threat of the Thracians in the south. Our battle to reclaim the entire Thracian peninsula in the name of House Leonster begins now. While Bloom throws his tantrums and sends his troops at us, we take a peek into Manster. After years under Bloom's tyranny, they're anxious for their freedom. A boy named Ced urges them to hold on to hope, at least until we arrive to liberate them. At Meath, we're given our first look into Trevant's happy new little family, with his son, Aryan. Bloom requests aid from him and the Thracians, but come on, the guy's a scavenger. Obviously, Trevant's plan is to let us duke it out with Bloom, so he can sweep up whoever's left himself. All these years, Trevant's been half-assing his alliance with Grand Vale, waiting for a day like this. And you know what? Honestly, I kinda respect it. Thracia's been a country of mercenary lapdogs longer than Trevant's been alive, and when a chance to finally prosper arose, Bloom took it right out from under his nose. This is probably his last chance to turn Thracia's ugly history around, and finally afford his people some normalcy and stability in their lives. Anyways, with Manster requesting our aid, and Bloom mounting an offensive against us, Lewin suggests we split up our armies to mount an offensive, while also defending Leonster in the north. And who better to defend it than Leif, Finn, and Nanna? Well, despite the split army setup, this is luckily going to be one of the more straightforward chapters we've seen in a while, so hopefully we can get through this one pretty quick. We go through the arena, and thanks to Paragon, Dermot and Larcey class up, into Forest Knight and Swordmaster respectively, meaning Dermot probably won't need the Paragon band from now on. Selling it to Seliph would probably be the best idea, but I kinda want Leif to catch up, so I sell his excess speed ring and silver blade so he can buy it instead. Larcey classing up also means she gets adept, but much like her mom, she doesn't really need it at all. With their fateful battle with their sworn enemies now looming on the horizon, Finn and Leif can have a talk. Leif says he'll do whatever it takes to free his people, even if it means throwing away his own life. A point Finn takes pretty big issue with, considering he's the one that toiled to keep him alive all these years. You know, maybe it's Leif's own privilege that causes him to belittle himself so much. His lineage doesn't quite have the grand importance of Seliph's, but thanks to his retainers, he's never actually really had to truly suffer through poverty and starvation, at least not in the same way the Thracians have. He can't quite relate with the top dogs who are fighting it out with their god powers, but he can't exactly relate with the common man either. Leif is the last remaining hope for Quan's dream of peacefully uniting Thracia and Manster, and ending their bitter history. They say Quan dared to dream, but as a bit of a dreamy-eyed idealist, it's hard to say if he actually made much progress on the front, or if he was just too busy going on dandy little adventures with Sigurd. Thracia 776 tells us that Manster outright refused to participate in trade with Thracia, especially when it came to food, which is pretty fucked up. Would have been nice if Quan had actually do something about that at the very least. Still, Trevant waxes poetic about the suffering of his people, but now he's inflicted the same suffering onto the people of Manster. I mean, Finn even says he had to starve himself at times to keep Leif and Nanna fed. Though, honestly, Trevant doesn't seem like the kind of guy who lets that kind of stuff bother him. And I guess, again, in some kind of twisted way, you gotta respect it. Look, Trevant is a rat bastard, and killed maybe the one guy in Leonster who wanted to help Thracia. But it's still hard to say which country was truly in the wrong here. It seems like it's been a long tale of backstabbing and aggressions that has faded to only end through some kind of dramatic showdown. If Julia and Seliph talk here, she'll have a dark premonition about the coming battle. She warns us that Ishtar will be a powerful foe, wielding the holy lightning tome Mjolnir. But is it her she's worried about, or some kind of darker force surrounding her? Fee and Arthur can talk too. He warns her against running too far ahead of the army just because she can fly. She teases him for actually expressing concern for once, since he usually only seems to care about his own problems. Maybe a little crush is blooming here between them. This conversation gives her 3 HP and 100 love points with Arthur. So, I'd say we might as well go for the pairing. Got nothing else to do. Fee has a secret event here. There's not really much point in it, but you can send her to this peak and she'll have a nice little heart-to-heart with her Pegasus Manya, and talk about her namesake as one of Celeste's great heroes. Look, like I said, I like Manya enough, but I wouldn't look up to her too much, kid. That girl really could have learned that it's okay to ask for help. Maybe Arthur's kinda right to worry about her. Still, she daydreams about finding her brother, returning home, and settling down with a nice partner. Cute stuff. The force headed towards Ulster is led by this guy Muhammad, who may be the most baffling case of enemy boss portrait reuse in this whole game. It's fucking Chagall! He wasn't exactly what I'd call a minor character in the first generation. He was like the main villain for like a third of the story. He had official art and everything. It's so weird to me. Like, why not just make another one of those squinty guys? Maybe a nice orange to complete the rainbow or something? But anyways, Muhammad here would have Finn's Brave Lance if he gets married in Gen 1. Or if you like classed up Noish and like sold it to him or something. I don't know. On our way to Connaught, I try to feed Patty and Leaf some kills. Leaf isn't quite as monstrous as his mom was yet, but he still does pull off some pretty clutch maneuvers. Putting him in range with this entire mounted squadron probably wasn't the best idea, but he survives, just barely, so whatever, it's fine. Our problem solver Finn takes out their boss Ovo, and Nana sweeps up some of the calves. She gets beat up pretty bad, but this does let us show the Miracle Sword's effect. Funny enough, I don't really think it ever happened with Lachesis. I don't think her HP and defense ever got high enough as a princess to like, get this low without just dying in one hit. The Miracle Sword increases your avoid rate when your HP is under 10. The calculation is 11 minus your current HP times 10. So yeah, the extra 50 avoid is pretty damn helpful, though we do unfortunately break it in the process. Though if you really want to talk about miracles, it broke on literally the last enemy to move that phase. I did this completely on accident, but Ares kills Muhammad without even giving him a chance to fight back. Considering that's Chagall's exact portrait, maybe this will help the kid get some of that pent-up vengeance out of his system and away from Seliph. I have 3 video files in a row here just called Babying 1, Babying 2, and Babying 3. So I guess, just have some footage of Tinny and Patty getting some kills. I guess it's a good time to play some catch-up since this chapter's so simple. Patty can get some nice marriage crits too, since she and Shannon are both unmounted. As you get closer to Connaught, Bloom will enlist the help of this incredibly ordinary-looking archer, Faval. But the kid has some qualms about working for Bloom. But of course, Bloom starts to threaten the orphans. Come on, man, don't you have some fucking puppies to be kicking or something? Get the fuck out of here. But Bloom mentions that Faval's sister has resorted to thievery to help these kids, which ends up convincing him to reluctantly help out. Bloom also deploys those triplets who teleported away last chapter for a round 2. They'll have leg rings this time, so don't be surprised when they start sprinting towards you. They can do a triangle attack, so if they all surround you, they'll perform a guaranteed critical hit. But, they're not great at setting it up. Oh yeah, this is something I probably should have brought up earlier, but with these triplets here, it's about as good time as any. Did you know that leadership stars in this game are a thing? And that they actually do something? I mean, I certainly forgot before now. The leader of these reused triplets will usually have some. In this case, Fanba has 3. Leadership stars increase the hit and avoid of all allies within 3 spaces by 10% per star after the first. This includes the commander themselves too. I always kind of forget about this mechanic, but Sigurd himself has 2 leadership stars, and Seliph will also start with 2. Though, if you save the game and reload, he'll have 3 for some reason. Again, this game is really weird about saving and reloading. It's a good thing to keep in mind, honestly. If you ever find yourself having trouble hitting an enemy, check the bosses around them. One of them may be providing that bonus. Usually it's these triplet girls that cause the biggest problems with it though, so if you can, find their leader and target them first. Though these ones still really aren't that big of a deal. And I'll tell you what, they don't teleport away this time, so I think they're actually dead for good. Once they're out of the way, Ishtar will come in to help her father. Bloom's annoyed with her for taking so long, but he's also basically on his hands and knees begging for her help. She wonders what's so special about us that has him in this pathetic state. But, of course, she agrees to help, as long as he hands over Mjolnir to her. With a holy tome in her hand, she deploys, declaring that she won't need an army to defeat us. And honestly, Like, slay girl, or serve, or go piss, I don't know, whatever. Ishtar can be one tough customer, for two big reasons. The obvious one is the fucking holy weapon, Mjolnir. The other problem is that she has Vantage, making her pretty tricky to deal with if you can't land a killing blow in one round. As for Faval, he mentioned his sister's name earlier too. Patty. So, yep, this is Bridget's son and the inheritor of Ufel. It looks like he missed out on those fabulous hair genes from his mom and aunt. But hey, you know what? Maybe this is just what Lord Ring looked like back when he was a little tadpole. Alright, hold up a second. This kid's a second coming of Lord Ring? Alright, he might be peak. But yeah, this means we have two holy weapons on our asses now. And they're both on the move. This sounds like it could be really bad, but it could be a lot worse. After all, neither of them are mounted, so that limits the immediate destruction they can inflict on us. Like I said earlier, Ishtar should be dealt with in one round if he can. So I can't think of anyone better for the job than old Daddy Big Dick Finn. He charges straight in and Ishtar expresses her regret that she has to face us in battle. And then Finn pokes her to death with his Brave Lance, with no resistance.
I thought you were stronger.
Yeah, I guess I'd be regretting a couple things right now too if I were you. She calls out a name as she falls. Lord Julius. And like a true knight in shining armor, he appears just in time to teleport her off the battlefield. A high-ranking red-haired twerp named Julius, huh? I think we all know who this is supposed to be. The Crown Prince of Grandvale himself. Seliph can talk to Tinny and he'll ask about Ishtar. She was like a kind older sister to Tinny, though the man who came to spirit her away is a different story. Prince Julius is actually Ishtar's lover. Tinny describes him the way that many cult leaders are described. Charismatic and charming, but with an ice-cold darkness within him. She says he feels downright inhuman. But anyways, our next problem's gonna be Faval. I make a stupid mistake and leave my singular flying unit in range of literally the strongest bow in the game, but luckily he takes mercy on us and uses Jamka's killer bow on us instead, and Fee just barely survives it. Huh. I knew I gave Bridget that thing for a reason. I'll tell you what though, thank God he's not Jamka's son, or he probably would have gotten a few more shots in. Of course though, all we've got to do is get Patty in there to disarm this bomb. She's disgusted with him for siding with Bloom. After all, none of these kids would be orphans if it wasn't for men like him. After a thorough shit-talking, he agrees that he made the wrong choice and joins up with us. Well, let's hope Bloom paid him in advance. Holy weapon maintenance ain't exactly cheap. Okay, please don't make me think of something to say about Faval. I mean, like, what would you even want me to say? He didn't inherit Luna from Holland, so he's pretty much just an unpromoted Bridget, if instead of being a cool, badass pirate girl boss, he was just kinda what you expect a generic, unnamed archer to look like. But I mean, he has Pursuit and Ufel, so I mean, if that doesn't do a job on like 90% of enemies, then I don't know what to tell you. I mean, look, he's like a great unit by default, but also probably the worst holy weapon user by default. I mean, you're an infantry locked to a 2-range weapon in FE4. It was harder to notice with Bridget, but with the power level we're at in Gen 2, it just doesn't quite hit the same by comparison. Like, character-wise, I mean, he's fine. He loves the orphans and whatnot, but I mean, come on, newsflash here, buddy, we're all orphans, y'all ain't that special. Seliph can talk to him, usual stuff. He apologizes and Selip's just like, oh my god, dude, it's fine, it's so fine, like, don't even worry about it. I wonder if he gets tired of being so chill all the time. The villagers here have all been waiting on pins and needles for our arrival. Manster in the east has been having its own uprising led by Sed, a Silesian mage. But with the Empire in the north and the Thracians eyeing them in the south, they're having a rough time of it. This northern village also gives us a power ring, which ends up going to Nana, who already has one, so I send the spare to the convoy. I'm gonna be honest here, I think I forgot about doing this, so I probably just let it sit in the convoy for the rest of the game. If that bothers you, trust me, it bothers me 10 times more. Bloom and these mages all have bolting, so be aware of that. They all single out Finn as their target after seeing what he did to their trump card Ishtar. Thank God he clutches out a 10% dodge here. Bloom must have been absolutely seething over that one. This village tells us that Manster and Thracia used to be one united nation, which makes their whole situation all the more unfortunate. Thracia definitely lost the proverbial kids in the divorce here. Faval is basically an instant delete button on any common enemy he can reach, so he can knock out some of these armor knights. But his sister is starting to hold her own too. with the help of Luna and her armor slayer. Now that the path's been cleared, we can have our rematch with Bloom. Again, this guy's pissed off a lot of people in our army. Though, Leaf must have gotten his bloodlust out of his system last chapter now that he's out of Leonster, because he has nothing to say to the guy this time. Faval comes back with his bow pointed at Bloom after being hired like 10 minutes ago. So of course he's furious about that. Faval goes like, "Yeah, well, I'd rather die than help you. Too bad it's you who's gonna be dying here. Not me." Smooth kid. Very cool. He gets a good shot in, but Bloom has 4 leadership stars and castle bonuses, so he's surprisingly squirrely. For the first time, we get to really see Tinny stand up for herself here. When Bloom calls her a spoiled brat, she snaps back this time, forcing him to remember how he drove Tailtew, his own sister, to death. She doesn't manage to land a hit on Bloom, but she can survive his onslaught this time. She's getting somewhere. Yeah, I know it's because Bloom has Thoron this time and not Mjolnir, but come on, let her have this. Bloom tells Seliph he won't leave this battle alive, and Seliph drops the, "I believe that's my line." It's way harder than whatever Faval said. It's another one down from the bloodline of Sigurd's backstabbers. Now we just gotta kill Arvis and Julius. Then maybe Sigurd's vengeful spirit will finally be satisfied. Although, maybe it wouldn't hurt to kill off Yohalvier while we're at it too. Now that Bloom's finally dead, we've basically rid the Empire's influence over the Thracian Peninsula. Liberating Manster should be a walk in the park now. I mean, we're just trying to help out here. There's no reason for Thracia to fight us if we all just talk it out and try to understand each other. Right? Well, Lewin doesn't exactly trust Quan's killers. And I guess there's not really any reason for them to trust us either, given our country's histories with each other. So of course, as soon as Bloom's down, Trevant gives the order to take Manster and kill any man, woman, or child who fights back. We're introduced to his daughter here too. None other than our very own stolen princess, Altenna, who's totally down to give the Empire a kick in the pants, but not if it involves killing innocent civilians. Ever the voice of reason, she urges him to settle this age-old grudge with Manster and make an alliance with the Liberation Army. But Trevant is eager to make us his new enemies. He tells her to just shut her mouth and follow orders, before Aryan comes in to reason with her. She reluctantly agrees to lead the charge on Manster, and Trevant leaves to the capital with Aryan. In private, Trevant says Altenna's become as much of a pain in the ass as her mother was. But Aryan tells him she means no ill will by it. Seems like a pretty reasonable guy. Maybe these kids are the key to ending this conflict. In Manster, Ced sees the massive army of Wyvern riders heading his way. He figured they'd come eventually, but not this soon. He heroically volunteers to halt their advance to Manster alone. The townspeople worry for their hero, though. Not even he could face his whole army alone. Ced accepts that he may die here, but he'll at least buy them time and take down a few Thracians. Okay, enough with dramatics, kid. You know what you're packing here. No, I can't survive this assault by myself, but I'll die a heroic death. Come on. You're Lewin and Aaron's son, which of course means Forseti. I mean, Lewin was already pretty much unkillable with the thing. His only real issue in combat is that he couldn't really double consistently. But I mean, you can guess what skill Ced has. So yeah, he's gonna be one of our best units here, even with 0 investment. So, a funny thing about Ced, pairing Aaron with Lewin actually results in the slowest Ced, having lower base speed than even an Arden or Lex one, who both still break into the 20s. This isn't because Lewin's slow or anything, far from it actually. His base speed actually goes so high with this pairing that it triggers an overflow glitch, putting his speed at 16 here. This sounds like it would be a problem, and yeah, maybe it usually would, but it's Forseti, man. He gains an extra 20 speed, so he's still functionally almost twice as fast as any other pairing. Plus, this pairing gives him a whopping 105 speed growth thanks to that major Forseti blood, so he'll be capped out at some point anyways. All around amazing unit. Not only will these Wyvern Riders not kill him, they'll be an absolute cakewalk. The only reason he won't be obliterating them all himself is because I want to spread the EXP around. This part's great for getting some levels in. The villagers will all run towards us and give a free level to whoever rescues them, so they're going straight to Tinny and Patty. Obviously, Faval can also clear the arena super easily, just like his mommy. The Thracian Draco Knights start entering the fray. They're gonna be our main enemies for a while. And you know what that means.
We're only allowed to play Clapping Party.
This is a straightforward enough fight. I mean, you get what's going on here. The funniest little piece of design here, though, is the secluded village past the eastern mountains. It's in range of Altena's squadron, which could make it a bit scary to approach, but it's also being raided by a bandit and guarded by an extremely rare sight, an enemy rogue. He has a wing slayer, no doubt to deter you from approaching with Fee. And you know, you see enemy thieves so rarely, you might forget exactly what it is that thieves do in this game, so... Holy guacamole.
Wonder what this feels like. Ow! That hurts! My God, is that what I've been doing to people? I belong here.
If you manage to rescue them, they'll be surprised you came all the way out to this remote village, and thank you with a thief band. Which, like the thief sword, lets anyone take money from enemies. Again, neat, but if you're doing the arena, it's not really necessary. Look, I'm not exactly saying you should leave these people to die or anything, but maybe you should consider if their lives are worth that 49,545 gold, you know? Anyways, let's check out Altena. She carries Gay Bolg with her, which you'd think would be a dead ringer for her heritage. But I mean, I guess she doesn't really know what it is. Still though, that strength is undeniable. Though, much like Quan, she doesn't have pursuit, so maybe don't worry too much, as long as that first hit doesn't kill you. Out of these 3 groups of wyverns, one will try to head northwest and take our home bases, so you may need to send someone back up to protect them. I ended up sending Arthur to Ulster. Unfortunately, that was our last warp use, and it turns out they're actually heading to Leonster. So we'll have to get back to Manster, repair our staff, and then send Tinny over there once she's done eating villagers. We and the Thracians engage in a mad race towards Sed. We need to arrive first to keep him from jacking all of our EXP. It's a full-on assault from Thracia, except for one person, Altena. With the Empire vacating the area, Manster's population is made up entirely of civilians, and Altena refuses to fight with them, preferring to negotiate a surrender. She even surrounds herself with one of those yellow, I really wish I weren't here right now barriers. But the Wyvern Riders pay no heed to her. They take their orders from Trevant himself, while she waits in solitude on our little mountaintop. These guys bring a lot of bodies, but individually, they're kinda chumps. Dermot one-rounds them, and Patty and Leaf get some fights in. They stand near Seliph and emerge unscathed thanks to his leadership evasion bonus. In the process, Leaf manages to hit level 20. His Paragon band has already paid off dividends. He also manages to get the Light Brand to 50 kills, unlocking critical on it. Now, this mostly doesn't matter since he already has critical, but now every kill on it will grant him another point to his crit rate. Again, it'd probably be a good idea to throw this sword to someone who could actually use the extra firepower now, but it's his iconic sword passed down from his mother, so they'll have to pry it from his cold, dead hands. Seliph can finally catch up to Sed and thank him for keeping the people of Manster safe. Sed's built up a nickname for himself over the years, Sed the Brave, but it's a title that he denies. Children all across Manster were taken to the dark shrines in Meledos, and Sed was powerless to stop it. But Seliph reassures him, no one can fight back against the Empire alone, but together, they have what it takes. Okay, but like, if anyone here could solo the Empire, I'm telling you right now, it's Sed with Forseti. So like, maybe he has a reason to be self-conscious, I don't know. But with new hope in his heart, he swears his loyalty to Seliph and joins the Liberation. Unfortunately, Seliph is still covering up Manster's main gate, so he's gonna have to wait a turn to join the action. Sed can let off some steam in the arena, a task that obviously gives him no trouble. But, getting some aggression out's probably for the best, considering a conversation you can have now. Have him talk to Seliph if Lewin is his father, and he'll notice a suspicious green-haired man acting as Seliph's tactician, who Seliph is all too happy to introduce. Seliph steps aside for this heartwarming family reunion. When confronted, Lewin's just like, "Oh, hey kiddo, guess you finally found me." As if one day Lewin just told his kids to close their eyes and count down for a game of hide and seek, and when they open them, they just never saw him again. He casually asks how things have been, and Sed loses it. He spent years trying to find him. He asks how Erin's doing, but as we know, she's dead. All Sed wanted was to have one last moment for them to all be a family again, but the hopes of that are long gone. All Lewin can muster is a, huh. Such a shame, too. Not even shedding a single tear. Ced can't believe what a cold man his father's become. I mean, the guy's known that Fee was in the army the whole time too, and never made an effort to speak a word to her. The man's given up on his family completely. He has his own agenda now. It's really sickening behavior from the man. Hard to believe he's fallen this far. Still, the conversation gives Ced 3 luck for his trouble. I always like to think that Seliph just has to, awkwardly sit there listening to the whole family drama too. I mean, look at him, he ain't going nowhere. On a happier note, Ced and Fee can reunite too. She's glad to finally find him. Ced's a good kid and all, but it is pretty funny that he was supposed to be looking for Lewin, and instead got sidetracked in an uprising and also kinda ended up ignoring his family. But unlike Lewin, who makes a point not to apologize, Ced's sorry for leaving her alone, but she's just proud of him for standing up for the little guys. She showers him with praise, but Ced doesn't want her to sell herself short either. Just like Aaron, she couldn't turn her back on people in need. I love these two. It's really nice to see them so proud of each other. They're really all they have left, considering their father is such a deadbeat. Fee's been refusing to speak with Lewin, so the two get a moment to share in their frustration towards him, and wonder what could have made him this way. If I remember correctly, if you don't pair Lewin and Aaron, they'll instead lament that their father died in Valhalla, but I don't have footage of that, so don't quote me on that. Still, imagine naming your kid after Lewin's ancestor when you're not even married to him. It's gotta be a little awkward for the other potential fathers. Lewin's totally gotta be intended here, otherwise this is just kinda sad. Not that it's not already sad in its own right or anything, you know what I mean. Nana and Ares can have a bit of a delayed meeting now too. Nana introduces herself as his cousin. Her family went to Leonster in the first place out of worry for Ares, but they never found him. Before shit hit the fan in Augustria, Eldigan sent his wife and son there to stay with the in-laws, but obviously, shit ended up hitting the fan in Leonster too, leaving Ares alone until Jabaro took him in. Nana gives Ares a letter passed from Lachesis. It's Eldigan's last words to his son. It explains that he and Sigurd were the best of friends, even when the war forced them to fight. Meaning Ares' hatred of Seliph really was built on a lie. You know, you probably really could have gotten this to him sooner, though. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's pretty funny that he's been tagging along this whole time, still just hating Seliph, but not really have anything better to do. With this, though, he can finally join the Liberation with true purpose, and vows to protect Seliph with his life. It's gotta be a real weight off his shoulders, though. Hating a little guy like Seliph sounds really hard. He'll also end with a swordplay lesson for Nana, giving her 1 strength and 2 defense. As we head south towards our wall of ballista, we take out plenty of Draco Knights with our usual heavy hitters, now including Ced. But like Schmidt in Chapter 6, if you fail to take out the commander in time, they can just summon more reinforcements. But it's not really anything we can't handle. Those northbound wyverns finally reach Tinny, who's finally strong enough to handle this kind of action on her own. After taking them all out, she hits level 18. The villages here will tell you a bit more about Thracia and Manster's shared history. Thracia was founded by the Crusader Dane, and to make matters worse, not only were Thracia and Manster once one nation, but it seems like Nova, the Crusader of Leonster, was actually his sister, making this whole feud a family issue. Anyways, the boss list chapter Makov is really no one special, so I'll just whittle him down a bit first with Selph's Windsword, so Patty can take him on. She's actually getting to a point where she can do solid damage on bosses, even without the Armor Slayer. She procs Luna and kills him with her second Brave Sword hit. So proud of her. When we capture Meath, Seliph remarks the sheer desperation that Thracia fights with, throwing out endless waves of frenzied wyvern riders. Lewin explains the sorry state of Thracia. Having little fertile land, their men are forced to fight as mercenaries and die in foreign wars, while women and children struggle to stay alive at home. Trevant's an awful person, but he's committed to the well-being of his people, and they support him with all their hearts. After all, he's the only hope of them escaping Thracia's famine. Lewin admits that they've always been something of an inconvenient truth to sweep under the rug. Trevant's twisted sense of heroism makes perfect sense to Thracia's people, who have nothing else to cling to. But it'll never be accepted if it threatens the admittedly privileged peace of those around them. Lewin can't really provide an answer for this moral dilemma, but at this point, there's really no choice but to fight if we want to get to the Empire. The only solution now is to cut off the issue at the head, Thracia's royal family. Only then can Manster and Thracia finally be united once again. With this solemn sentiment in the air, Altenna watches Meath fall and retreats deeper into Thracia. Thracia is the only ally of the Empire. Which is to say, it was the only land in Yggdrasil that went unconquered after Arvis's rule. And why is that? Well, to be blunt, it's underpopulated, devoid of resources, and incredibly difficult to invade because of its terrain and ferocious wyvern riders. There was simply nothing to gain for the Empire. We're here to finally fix Thracia's age-old issues, a goal the Empire never dreamed of touching. This chapter's title asks the important question: for whose sake is this war? Both sides want the same thing at this point, an end to the suffering of Thracia's people. It's a conflict built on centuries of distrust, layers and layers of abuse and retaliation. Talking things out is no longer an option. Blood, unfortunately, has to be spilled before this conflict can end. Eltenna returns from the front, and of course, Trevant is furious. Manster stands under the Liberation's occupation, and an entire squadron of soldiers is dead. Only Eltenna survived, her weapon woefully untainted by innocent blood. Eltenna understands his anger, but she refuses to build Thracia's prosperity on the suffering of others, like everyone else on the continent has. Aryan interrupts her and says it isn't her place to ignore orders. However, he also tries to defend her, arguing that she's still green and simply found the battle overwhelming. Trevant decides to give her one more chance: retake Meath or face the consequences. As soon as she leaves, he starts gossiping with Aryan again. Those old Nova genes are acting up in his rebellious daughter again, but Aryan just blames her age. Funny enough, Kaga says Trevant does genuinely love Eltenna like a daughter, at least in his own fucked up Trevant kind of way. All things considered, I think he does offer her a hell of a lot more leeway than she realizes. It is a little sad that he still laments that she clearly loathes him, but, I mean, the guy's a total prick, so I mean, I don't know what you expect. Oh yeah, speaking of being a total prick, one of his generals is giving him some trouble in Cappadocia, so he decides to head over there to give him a little motivation. Cappadocia is guarded by General Hannibal, the mighty shield of Thracia. He's a man from an older age with a life full of perspective, and he knows for a fact this war is pointless. A truce with the Liberation is the safest way to ensure Thracia's survival. Making an alliance with the Empire was always a mistake, and now Thracia's paying for it, with child hunts for the Empire's dark god reaching even here. But Trevant still calls for blood, and Hannibal, ever committed to Thracia, begrudgingly accepts his orders. So he decides to take Hannibal's adoptive son Charlo from him until the battle is won. He drops Charlo off to Lutetia with his brown-nosing General Disler, with orders to kill him if Hannibal shows any signs of betrayal. Look, make no mistake, I'm gonna sound like a Trevant apologist sometimes, because I think he rocks, and he does have some grand intentions, but he is a total villain. Like, 2nd Gen may not be as funny to me as Gen 1, but Trevant almost makes up for it single-handedly. So funny, what a fucking hater. He's on that tying orphans to railroad tracks type shit peak, honestly. On his way back to Thracia Castle, he also stops by his local cultist, Bishop Judah. He confirms that the Empire is still willing to reinforce them, so we can definitely expect a massive battle here. At Meath, Seliph still wonders why we have to fight Thracia. But as Wyvern Knights make their way towards us, I guess they'd make the answer obvious. Still, Seliph can't help but think of the image of that lone rider on the mountaintop, a profound look of sadness in her eyes, and he's not sure he can bring himself to kill someone like that. Lewin finally runs out of patience for this soft, Chalfie idealism, though, and lashes out, telling Seliph to run away back to Tirnanog if he can't handle the brutality of war. Oyfe calls him out for being a prick. Seliph's been under a lot of stress for a kid his age. Lewin acknowledges this, but of course, he doesn't apologize for his behavior. Loptir is a threat that has to be dealt with, and if Thracia stands in the way of that goal, then that's that. Despite Lewin's complete lack of sensitivity, Seliph sees his point, so he decides to stop moping. If he can't see a purpose in this war, but has to fight it anyways, then, well, he endeavors to find his own purpose as he fights it. And you know, I gotta say, that's a pretty grim goal. Speaking of reasons to fight though, Finn and Leif have finally arrived in Thracia, so they must be wrestling a lot of complicated feelings. But Finn can't stop thinking about that lone Draco Knight. Leif didn't recognize her, but Finn couldn't mistake it. She had the power of Gay Bolg and the Crusader Nova. This is the only indication they've ever gotten in 17 years that Eltenna may have actually survived the Yed massacre. But considering she showed up on the enemy side, this complicates things. Even still, Leif is determined to tell her the truth and set things right, and Finn begs him to do so. He's the only one that can set her free now. But before all that, we gotta hit the arena. A lot of our units are close to classing up now, so this will be an eventful one. After making our rounds, Ulster, Nana, Tinny, Ares, Leaf, and finally Seliph are at level 20. Patty and Julia are close behind too. They've been putting in a lot of work. Ulster becomes a hero, and Nana and Ares become paladins. These aren't particularly interesting upgrades, mostly just some stat boosts, but Nana gets a whopping extra 6 strength and defense, which is pretty nuts. Like I said, heroes don't get adept like swordmasters, so I probably should have just sold Larcea's Brave Sword to Ulster here, so they could both have the ability to hit 4 times in a round. I'd still even be keeping it in the family like I wanted. But, nope. Still stupid. Tinny becomes a mage fighter, cranking up her stats and giving her adept, which will undoubtedly help her on the warpath I've put her on. Oh, and she can use a sword now, so... Whoopee. Leaf classes up into Master Knight. Princes and princesses have the same end goal. Makes sense. Of course, this gives him access to every weapon type, gives him some massive stat boosts, a horse, and pursuit. Couldn't ask for a better class up. And last but not least, Seliph classes up into Sigurd's Old Reliable, Night Lord. No more getting left behind now, buddy. A bigger speed boost would have been nice, though. Alright, now, I feel kind of bad doing this here. I mean, the moment a Lord classes up in an FE game is usually really important, but, I think Night Lord must have been one of the first battle sprites they made for this game, because, I don't know if it's just me, but it just looks kind of lame. Like, I feel like they put a bit more detailing into the other mounted unit sprites, but honestly, it's mainly the coloring of it that feels wrong. I dig the white and blue horse, but the guy on it is kind of just a pile of skin and blue. Like, does he have armor? Is it a sleeveless shirt? I assume these are leather boots, but because of the coloring and lack of details, it kind of looks like he's just wearing some blue capris and rocking it barefoot. And it's a shame too, because I love the Lord sprite. It just reads a lot better, has better colors, and a cape, which the Night Lord loses out on. Not to mention, the Lord's crit animation is way cooler too. This little flailing crit that the Night Lord does has never been my favorite. I always thought Horse Lord class ups kind of felt the laziest. Though, in fairness, I guess you have less freedom to animate on a horse. I mean, I'm pretty sure all the horse classes reuse each other's animations in this game. Shout out to Ellawood though, because those mounted Durandal animations absolutely fuck. You actually can dismount Seliph if you feel like going back to the old days. But honestly, I think it's just there for shits and giggles. There's 0 point in dismounting this game, since all the maps are outdoors. Also, if you're playing on an older translation, it can actually cause Seliph to disappear permanently, making the game impossible to beat. I wish they personalized the sprites a bit more too, like how Seliph sprite on the map gets its own little unique shield. Like, the battle sprite is the exact same as Sigurd, and honestly, it doesn't really evoke Seliph or Sigurd's vibes much to me. Now, I'm no sprite artist, but I took a couple minutes to tweak these sprites to look a little more fitting for Seliph and Sigurd, without changing the general shape or using any colors that weren't initially present. Though I do gotta admit, I love it when FE4 art shows Seliph as a Night Lord by putting him in Sigurd's white clothes. It really is a more grown-up look than his regular blue. Part of me also kind of wishes his portrait changed. I always think it's a nice touch when these games do that, but you know what? I'm not gonna hold it against them here. Alright, sorry about that. Night Lord rant over, we can return to the actual game now. Larcea got a Brave Bow from some Mook last chapter, and while that could go to Lester, I think he's a little too far behind to do anything with it now, so I'll sell it to Leaf. Between the Light Brand and this thing, who needs Holy Blood? He's a real Swiss Army knife of damage types now. His inventory is full, but now that he's classed up and has Pursuit, he can ditch the Paragon Band and Pursuit Band for a Silver Axe. Surprisingly, Fia's a little bit behind on levels considering her movement, so I sell her the Paragon Band and sell off the Thief Band so she isn't broke. The Thief Band is cool and all, but I just don't know if it's worth it. Money's just not that huge of an issue at this point in the game. Fascinatingly though, Patty and Lana are the only main kids in the army now without Pursuit. Though we don't really have to worry about those, so it's Yohalvier's lucky day. He somehow hasn't fallen too far behind, so I let him have it. With a Brave Axe, this might actually make him somewhat formidable. Man, if only he had a horse. With our prep done, we can start heading towards Cappadocia to see if we can't help with that whole Hannibal situation. On our way there, Faval can talk to Patty. It's another stealing is bad lecture. He says he heard someone talking shit about Bridget because of Patty stealing. But, let's just say the guy who said that's, basically in the hospital right now with, 50 broken bones. Yeah, no big deal. Still, I do think Patty just kinda embodies Bridget more. I don't get the impression that she ever really cared what others thought, as long as she got to do what she thought was right. Either way, they're both proud of their mother, and they want to search for her when the war's over. She's still out there, so I hope they can all have their happy ending someday. Selef's new movement is much appreciated, and with Lelia's help, he can rush far ahead of everyone else, like he was always meant to. Even with his son in peril, Hannibal is still hesitant to fight us, so he decides to stay on the defensive and slow his approach while staying in formation. Still, he takes the field himself, leaving Cappadocia to his underling Connaughts. Of course, Selef is already deep into his territory, so the battle begins anyways. Some of these knights will have sleep edges, which is potentially obnoxious, but Selef handily takes care of them. Unlike Hannibal, Altena decides she won't hesitate this time, and begins her flight towards Meath, Draco Knights in tow. Once their formation is disrupted, Hannibal's knights really start clumping up together, making for a total bloodbath. The good old Selef and Larcei power couple can take out a few and rush right past Hannibal. If you remember recruiting Ira, the situation obviously has a pretty similar solution. To recruit Hannibal, we'll have to keep him alive until we kick Disler's teeth in and rescue Charlo. Of course, our army is really beefed up and our enemy is all armored, so it's a much simpler task this time around. No armor unit can stand up to Julia's Nosferatus, and she hits level 20, meaning of course that we can warp her back with Lana and class her up into a sage. Her mother never really got the opportunity with her lack of combat prowess and the whole kidnapping thing, so she gets to live out that dream for her here. Here's to more days free from the grip of creepy cultists, huh? Patty armor slays a few of these knights and hits level 20 herself. I try to lure out Hannibal by leaving Leif defenseless with his brave bow, but honestly, the enemy AI in this game is kinda incomprehensible compared to other Fire Emblem games, so he aims for Ulster instead. Luckily, Hannibal has high leadership, so he dodges him easily. Either way, Leif can't lollygag here for too long. Altena's almost a Meath. Thankfully, Julia is still there from her class up, so she can effortlessly repel the Draco Knights. I try a similar strat here. I thought I'd have Leif lure her out with his brave bow so Altena doesn't accidentally kill herself against Julia. Or vice versa. But again, incomprehensible. Altena also has some decent leadership though, and dodges the lethal barrage. Though luckily, Julia escapes that massive 59 damage by the skin of her teeth too. Like I said, the girl's sturdy thanks to Nosferatu's health regen, but there's not much you can do if you die in one hit. Leif begs Altena to stop fighting before she turns Julia into a fine red mist. But she's totally baffled by him. He introduces himself as the Prince of Leonster, and her brother. As a courtesy, she introduces herself too, as Trevant's daughter, since he doesn't seem to quite get the picture. I mean, let's be real here, honey. 63 attack? It's either a holy weapon or the juice. Still, she can't believe it, but Leif tells her to look into his eyes if she needs more proof, which finally shakes her resolve. Once again, she decides to return to Trevant empty-handed, this time looking for the truth. Of course, Trevant is furious to see her abandoning her post for the second time in a row, but without hesitation, she asks, is he really her true father? Or was it the man he left for dead in the desert 17 years ago? Trevant admits it without missing a beat. Yeah, he killed her father and raised her himself, but what difference does it make? He's still her father now. Like, okay, yeah, I sort of get what you're saying here, but, like, you're not Uncle Ben, man, alright? Uncle Ben didn't kill Peter's parents and leave him in the desert for the vultures. He says it was just war. He did what he had to do. Maybe he thinks taking mercy on her is enough to warrant her forgiveness. Or maybe not. After hearing the truth from his own mouth, she refuses to call him father, only Trevant. She readies herself to kill him. Aryan steps between them, and she hesitates. She may hate Trevant, but she harbors no ill will to Aryan. In an effort to protect his father, he stabs her while her guard is down. Trevant is surprised by his brutality. He never expected him to kill his own sister. Again, this reaction's pretty sad, considering he does genuinely love Altena. He manages to blow it off, though, and takes to the battlefield himself. But before he does, he gives Thracia's holy spear Gungnir to Aryan. Aryan is baffled by this. Going up against us without it is basically suicide. And I think it's no coincidence that he comes to this decision right after Altena's killed. The man said he's finally had enough of all this. I think that, despite everything, he always wanted to spare a tragic death for both of his children. By doing this, Trevant can at least spare Aryan and his people from the ire of the world. He can martyr himself like a Jesus figure and sacrifice himself for all the past sins of Thracia. He can let his son start anew from a fresh slate, finally make amends with Manster in good faith, in a way that never would have been possible before this moment. Trevant deploys with his Wyvern squad for what may very well be his last battle, to attempt what Altena failed before her demise. Back on the battlefield, I have Fee dart over to this northwest corner, where this big cluster of villages is getting raided by a singular bandit. He's protected by these 3 mercenaries, who each have one of the elemental swords. Like, that's pretty extra, and I'm sure they think they're pretty hot shit, but I don't really know what they were going for with this, because they're just super average enemies. I think it would have been funnier if they just gave them all wing slayers, since they knew you'd throw Fee here. And maybe just make them all fucking rogues while they're at it too, because why not? Save them and get yourself a barrier ring and a bunch of gold. Well, actually though, I'll save the barrier ring for Tinny later. We can warp back Patty and class her up too, which is pretty exciting. Again, never done this before. She classes up into a rogue, getting some pretty average stat boosts, but more importantly, pursuit. And even more importantly, this super cute beret and leggings. She looks great, like honestly, slay queen. This actually makes her a pretty strong unit. Surprisingly, her strength was pretty great. It was just her lack of pursuit holding her back. But now, she should be able to stand toe-to-toe with guys like Ulster. Once Trevant is on the move, Hannibal decides it's time to go all out himself. No more holding back. He orders his army to move in on us, before realizing that his army's already been reduced to a puddle on the floor. He heads back to Cappadocia to reinforce, which looks really funny after his whole speech. While he works on that, Seliph and Larcey are already at Lutetia. Larcey cuts down Disler and politely moves out of the way so Seliph can seize the place. Man, I gotta say, getting Seliph that horse is such a fucking game changer, man. This has been downright breezy. We find a child imprisoned at Lutetia. As expected, it's Charlo. He tells us about how Hannibal's been forced to fight against his will. So, all we gotta do now is bring Charlo to him. But first we'll have Trevant to deal with. Trevant's first target is Patty, which would have been a cause for concern a chapter ago, but now she can stand on her own and take that silver lance like a champ. And give him a little shakedown while she's at it. I mean, the guy's a king, right? It'd be a waste not to. But come on now. Seliph may have taken Leaf's kill on Bloom last chapter, but we all know the 2 men who deserve to take down Trevant today. Finn finally challenges him. He's waited for this moment for over a decade. Trevant's impressed that he managed to survive for this long, but Finn is no one to him, just another commoner. But to Finn, this is everything. With his fallen lord's beloved Brave Lance in hand, they trade blows. They both land solid hits, but it's not enough for the kill. Of course though, it's Leaf who deserves to end this. Taunting these 2 is Trevant's last petty little fuck you to the world. He's the truest hater to live. He may know this is the end for him, but I think he's truly enjoying it. Leaf's whole life has led up to this. His life has been hell for as long as he can remember, and it's all Trevant's fault. He's suffered defeat after defeat, but all the hardship will have been worth it if he can just take him down here. But Leaf has trained long and hard for this, finally becoming a Master Knight and surpassing Quan on his own merits. It won't be his father's lance or his mother's sword that does him Trevant, but his new brave bow. Trevant falls, with thoughts only of his beloved in mind, the rotten, miserable place he calls home, Thracia. Back at the capital, Aryan wakes and unconscious, but clearly still living Altena. He apologizes for stabbing her, but it was the only way to get his father off her back. She's surprisingly pretty understanding about the stab wound, but wonders where Trevant is now. But of course, the man's already been slain, by her own brother. At a loss, she wonders what to do now. But Aryan tells her to be with Leaf now, her true family. What an understanding guy. Must be a real weight off her shoulders. As for Aryan, he decides there will be no truce. He'll fight the liberation, even if it makes them enemies. Wait, what? Altena laments his decision, but flies off to find Leaf. Man, I gotta say, Thracia is one of the most complexly handled moral subjects in this game. Trevant is a superb villain. Definitely one of the series' best. He's reprehensible and ruthless and he knows it. But at the end of the day, he does truly care for his nation. And he's willing to sacrifice his own legacy if it's what it takes to help Thracia. And I think that's pretty fucking awesome. Thracia commits acts of violence that are looked down upon, but they only do it out of desperation. Don't get me wrong, you can definitely argue that Trevant killing Quan was evil. I mean, the guy's whole dream was to unite the nations and save Thracia. But really ask yourself, was it just another naive empty promise? It's not like he ever made any headway on his goal. Only the new generation, Altena, Leaf, and Aryan can solve the situation now. Kaga definitely knew that Thracia was a goldmine for story content, because he made a full-length midquel about it. Of course, Thracia 776. All that said though, I think Aryan is a fucking bum. I would make peace were it not for father's final words. Oh, you mean we don't need to be hated by the rest of the world, and all I ask is that you liberate Thracia's people from their suffering? I'll be honest, man, I think the only part you listened to was when he said, do as you see fit. It's idiotic pride that makes him throw away these men's lives, and kinda tarnishes Trevant's last request. And don't get me wrong, I don't inherently mind this, but my problem is that people keep trying to paint the guy as this tragic but noble figure.
You're so right about that. It is a tragedy.
He thinks he's a lead character in a tragedy. Sad, isn't it? All grown up and ready for aftershave.
Don't try and give me that, where Trevant is ruthless and calculating, Aryan is kind and benevolent nonsense. I mean, like, yeah, he's probably a nicer guy than Trevant, but that's not hard. You gotta aim a little higher than that. Just not ransoming orphans isn't good enough. I just don't think this is the way that a truly good man acts. This is some selfish, petty shit. The cards were in his hands to do the right thing, and he just pussyfoots around it. I think the series should just commit to him being a bit of a prideful douchebag. Lean into it. I think he'd be far more entertaining that way, especially if it gives him some room for good character development. But either way, I guess he's made himself our opponent for the remainder of this chapter. Anyways, before we face our next onslaught, we still have some unfinished business here. My Lord Hannibal is depending on me to defend this castle. If you wish to claim it, you must first claim my life!
Hannibal?
Talk to Hannibal with Charlo and he'll join us. These two may be Thracians, but they don't like what the country's become. And, fair, all things considered. To them, aiding the liberation is the best way to help it. Good for them. Seliph apologizes that they had to fight such a pointless battle, but Hannibal only blames Trevant. He's loyal to Thracia, but in his eyes, Trevant has failed the country with his abuses. So now, he swears fealty to Seliph. Hannibal is a general, so I don't really have much to say about the guy. He's got Adept, Vantage, and the armor-unique skill Pavis, which basically has a 20% chance to negate any attack. He's not going to be doing a whole lot, but he'll make our castles look nice and pretty. Charlo is a priest, and a stand-in for Sylvia's son. For the sake of 100% transparency here, I initially thought I'd be getting Charlo because I was going to be doing a commentated video series. I didn't want to be butchering this name that I assumed was like French or something, like Quapois. But nah, apparently it's an Irish name, it's Corper. Though maybe demonstration purposes is a better sounding excuse for letting Sylvia die alone. Well, whatever. I mean, look, Charlo's a cuter kid anyway. I mean, just look at him. I want to throw him around like a football. He's got good aerodynamics or something. I feel like he can make like a Pokemon evolution line, starting with Charlo and ending with Sigurd with Seliph in the middle. Anyways, Charlo has Paragon, so he won't fall behind as hard as Corper. Though I still really don't know why they decided to give you an unpromoted healer so late. He comes with Physic, which is super useful, so paired with Paragon, he should catch up pretty fast. Our next goal in this battle is going to be to take down Judah and those Granvale reinforcements. Their General Musar is a weird one. This village here mentions that his father was killed by a Celestian knight in our ranks. I wonder what that even means. Fee, did you kill a Musar senior? Like, I wonder if they meant one of Lewin's uncles. Because Musar has like minor Forseti holy blood. Wacky stuff. We can wait for them to come to us, though. For now, we'll have to move towards Grusha in the south. Judah has a Fenrir tome, which we should definitely watch out for, but also a whole wall of ballista. Sounds like a long-range nightmare, but as usual, the ballista are kind of a non-issue due to their accuracy, especially with someone like Larcey leading the charge. The Granvale forces catch up to our rear guard, but guess who the rear guard is? Oh yeah, baby. Forseti still fucks. Like, yeah, I guess Sed and Musar are like cousins or something, but when the guy goes down like this, genuinely, who fucking cares? He drops Tornado for Sed, and I'm like, oh yeah, okay buddy, we'll totally use that. Lelia and Charlo can talk here. Not much really goes on here. She just says she'll dance for him sometime. Their counterparts are long-lost siblings, but as for whether or not these two are actually related, or if she just likes soliciting innocent blue-haired kids, I have no clue. This is their only conversation. Eltena tries to make her way to Seliph as she fights, looking to join our cause. When they meet, she admits she can't side against the liberation after learning the truth, and offers to join us. Seliph gladly accepts, happy that Leif's words have reached her. Leif takes more after his father than he realizes. When she looked into his eyes, all her warm childhood memories of her family came rushing back. Seliph still struggles to understand Trevant though, Why, out of all of his victims, did he decide to spare the daughter of his sworn nemesis? Altena assumes it was just for Gabe Bolg, but she admits that he still treated her like family, despite everything. She may hate the man, but at the end of the day, he was still a father to her. Altena may be where she belongs now, but she has a lot of complicated emotional baggage to juggle. Still, she bears no ill will towards Aryan, and begs Seliph to give her a chance to talk to him again. Seliph would obviously prefer not to have to fight another Crusader if he can avoid it, so he wholeheartedly accepts her proposal. Guess this is going to be our key out. Wow. This is a terrible place to recruit a flyer, isn't it? Altena's our first Wyvern Rider. A flyer with a holy weapon is going to be incredibly useful. She's so much like her father, just a super strong unit with great movement, but the Wyvern adds to that Thracian flair. Of course, maybe the real curse of Gabe Bolg may just be not having Pursuit, because she still just has Adept and Critical. Still, Gabe Bolg grants 10 Strength, Skill, and Defense alongside its base 30 Might, so her gimmick really is just smacking things once so hard that they turn into ground beef. If it works, it works. We'll have to take out a few of these Ballista, but we'll have Larcet kill Judah too while we're at it. Dunno what's worse for Wyverns, bows or magic. Just make sure you do it on a turn divisible by 4 for the Gaiden reference. We seize Grusha, and Seliph wonders why we still have to fight. Lewin says he's sent several envoys to negotiate peace, but they've all been ignored. Lewin says what I've been saying this whole time. This Aryan guy is actually kinda stupid considering the reputation he has. It really is just a pride thing. Either way, if he won't accept peace, then we'll have to force the issue. But, ever the softy, Seliph regrets what this fight will do to Altena. Aryan gets ready to deploy at the capital. This shit's not for show. This isn't like a single-man heroic gesture here. He readies the fucking Dragon Trinity Strike Formation. This is our final chance. Thracia's destiny hangs in the balance of this final assault. Bitch, what do you mean? This most definitely does not decide Thracia's fate. You could have had all this suffering over with 5 minutes ago if you just answered our fucking calls. And you know what? I'm just gonna make you watch this next part unedited because it's hilarious. This is like the FE4 moment. They just throw an absurd amount of enemies at you with no rhyme or reason. Go go Gadget, the air is now Wyverns. Fuck you, have fun. Honestly though, I wouldn't change it for the world. All of Aryan's nonsense is worth it for this. Like yeah dude, whatever, just throw out the life of every able-bodied man you have left in the country. See if I care. They'll fan out and attempt to take any castle they can get their hands on, so I warp out Faval and Altena to handle it. There's a few conversations we can get while we wait for the bloodbath to start. Seliph can talk to Julia here and see how she's doing. She's been acting strange lately, apparently, and Seliph's concerned. Frankly, she feels an intense dread, like they'll be torn apart and never see each other again. But Seliph reassures her. He swore he'd protect her no matter what, and he intends to uphold that promise. Their journey is approaching its endpoint as Grandvale draws nearer. But he says they'll finally get a chance to rest in the free city of Miletos after this battle. It's a famous merchant town, so Seliph promises to buy her anything she wants when they get there. As long as it's not Path of Radiance complete in box. I don't think Lewin can budget for that. This finally manages to cheer her up. Seeing her actually happy is a pretty rare sight. I think Julia definitely doesn't get enough screen time in this game, but it's still nice to see her become more emotive as the story progresses. In return, she offers to cast a ward spell on Seliph to protect him from evil magic. It can be dangerous for its user to cast, but she wants to truly help the people who gave her back her humanity. This grants Seliph a solid +3 resistance. I'm not sure if this conversation's supposed to have romantic undertones or anything. I know there's a lot of that in development. Some made it in, some didn't. But this event is really sweet. Just as two estranged siblings finally opening up to one another and showing they care. Charlo and Hannibal can have a really cute hidden conversation too. Only Charlo gets this one, not Corper. Hannibal feels bad about the whole abduction thing. If Charlo wasn't adopted by a general, it never would have happened. But Charlo wouldn't change a thing. He's proud of his father, and now he gets to help out the good guys. As far as he's concerned, it's all a win-win situation. It's very sweet. Now that this happy family is finally reunited, Hannibal has a gift for Charlo. Berserk, a staff that makes men lose sight of themselves, attacking anyone they see, whether friend or foe, right up to their dying breath. Aw, how wholesome. Altena gets the option to either talk to Finn or Hannibal here. She's glad to see that Hannibal's joined up too. She didn't want to have to fight him. They wonder about Arian. Maybe Hannibal could persuade him to stop, but he says if Altena can't convince him, no one can. Hannibal's a stubborn soldier in his own right. He may not agree with Arian, but he understands. Arian probably feels like a truce would be a disgrace, and he doesn't want to show any weakness in front of Altena. You know, I still stand that the manliest thing you can do right now is just join us to take down the child-eating empire, but I mean, agree to disagree, I guess. Obviously, though, give me a choice between Finn and Hannibal, and I'll choose Finn every time. Finn reintroduces himself to Altena, and she thanks him for keeping Leaf safe all these years. But all Finn can do is apologize for never looking for her. He always assumed she was just dead alongside her parents. Time has really hardened Finn, but he finally breaks down here. Let it all out, man. You need it. Altena remembers. As a child, she was always fond of Finn and always tried to get his attention. Shit, man. Finn really was part of the family, no matter how you look at it. Just imagine the grief and rage he's had bottled up all these years. The people who are basically his parental figures and their adoring little ankle biter. Ruthlessly murdered in the desert. He's been through too much. It's nice to finally see his family have a happy moment for once. Either of these conversations will give Altena plus 3 HP, but come on, man, just do the Finn one. Together, Finn and Altena can defend Meath. These Draco Knights have Brave Lances, which would be pretty dangerous for a lot of units, but thanks to Gaybolg's defense boosts, Altena can take through it. Altena joins you at level 17, so she's already pretty close to classing up. After this battle, she hits level 20, so let's get it done while she's here. By becoming a Dragon Master, she breaks the curse of Gaybolg. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, she gets Pursuit. With this, there's basically no physical attackers that can outdamage her in the army. Pretty impressive for a newcomer. With that done, we can finally fight Arian. You might think you can lure out his vanguard first by just staying on the edge of their range, but nope. He won't come until he can lay down his full force on you. Gungnir is a sibling weapon to Gaybolg, so they're almost identical in power. Almost anyone who you would normally rely on to beat him is going to have a much tougher time thanks to his leadership stars and immense strength. He even has Nihil, so you can't rely on gimmicks like critical hits or the flying unit bonus from bows. Plus he has a Miracle Band, so if you get him low on HP without finishing the job, he'll be nearly impossible to hit. Patty and Seliph handle his soldiers well enough, but Arian himself is a different story. Sending anyone in there without a holy weapon is suicide, even if it's someone like Thracia. You can try to have Altena talk him out of it, but despite what you may think, this is not a recruitment. She says they have absolutely no reason to fight, and she's right. But again, I guess Arian only really cares about his pride now, so he uses her to test his strength. She misses and he one-shots her. Wow, buddy! So you didn't want to seem weak in front of Altena, huh? Real cool of you, you really showed her! Shannon seems like a perfect option at first. I try to max his evasion out with Celis' leadership, Nana's charm, and Patty's marriage bonus. However, it's not quite enough. Shannon loses and it's pretty convincing. I figured to myself at this point, I just need one more source of evasion to counteract the weapon triangle disadvantage. And then I realized I placed him on an open road, which lowers evasion by 10. After putting him on a sand tile instead, he manages to dodge a nuclear warhead and respond with some solid damage. Okay, so obviously, Set is going to be your best candidate for taking down this asshole. Because of the treacherous mountain terrain, he just wasn't quite in range to handle it last turn. Again, you'll want to think this battle through a bit before you jump headfirst into it. Arian's one of the trickier enemies we've faced so far. With Forsetti's overwhelming might, Arian finally goes down, regretting the shame he's brought to himself and dropping his Miracle Band. As if Set wasn't hard enough to kill already, right? Fucked up thing about this guy too. This dude sent every man he had out to die, and he doesn't even have the fucking dignity to die himself. Julius teleports in and spirits him away to fight another day. Buddy, Thracia was barely even on the Empire's side to begin with. What are you doing? For whose sake, indeed? Hey, so sorry this took like half a year to come out. You know, Unicorn Overlord came out and I had to make a whole video gushing about that. And then summer happened and I moved apartments and I got cats now. So it was a little hard to muster the motivation to turn off all the fans and talk to yourself after moving furniture all day. You know how it is. But yeah, thanks for the patience. I think this might actually be one of the funnier episodes I've done. I've honestly been waiting to talk shit about Aryan since I started this whole project. Oh yeah, and I also got a new mic since the last video I uploaded, so hopefully the upgrade in sound quality is noticeable. But yeah, now that I'm settled in and have my own space to record, and the heat wave is dying down, the next one shouldn't take 6 months, but it's gonna be the final episode of the playthrough, so it's probably gonna be a pretty beefy one. I can't believe I've been working on this for so long now. It's weird to see an actual light at the end of the tunnel. It's been almost a year and a half. If you've stuck around this long, thanks again. I really do appreciate it. And if this is the first episode you're watching, then that's weird. Go watch the rest of it, you freak. Anyways, get excited for that next episode. The finale, if you could call it that. I don't know. But yeah, I'll see you all next time, I guess. Bye.